Airbnb arbitrage is one of those businesses that everyone hears about.
It's not a loophole, it's not illegal. Landlording allowed him to make millions from the real estate market.
But nobody actually fully trusts the idea that you can make life-changing money with it.
5 nights for 5,142, so.
That's ridiculous.
And honestly, I don't blame them. When I started 2.5 years ago, I approached it with the same skepticism because nobody would actually show the properties that they manage. Well, since then, I built my own $250,000 a month Airbnb portfolio, and I realized I'm in a pretty unique position to eliminate all the skepticism about the model once and for all. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 4 of my 45 Airbnb properties that I manage here in Melbourne, Australia, with each one being at a different price point to show you how I approach each level operationally. So after all expenses, this property still cleared roughly. For each property, I'm going to break down the numbers behind it, the rent, the operating costs, the real monthly profit, and the exact reason I chose this deal in the first place. Starting with property 1. This is the first Airbnb we're going to look at today. This is a 2.5 bedroom apartment in the middle of Melbourne CBD. And excuse the mess because we're in the middle of a checkout clean right now. The reason we chose this one was simple. The rent was relatively cheap for the area at $9.50 a week. And we knew straight away that by adding a sofa bed, we could make it perform like a 3-bedroom. Comparable 3-bedroom apartments are renting for around $1,100 to $1,200 a week. So before we even listed it, there was already a built-in margin and a pricing delta in our favor. Ever since we used it for this apartment, we have never used another couch since. If you disassemble these pieces, you get a double bed essentially. So if you pull this back, so comfortable. Yeah, one of my favorite couches by far. We've been spamming this one. And the great thing about this sofa bed is that it sleeps 2 people. So that means that this apartment in total fits 2, 4, 5, 7 guests. Now let's look at the numbers from last month. This property did $14,492 in gross booking revenue. After Airbnb and OTA fees, the total payout was $11,943. Occupancy was really strong at just under 97%, which is basically fully booked. Monthly rent for this apartment works out to be about $4,116. Cleaning came in at $1,250 for the month, and utilities were around $250. After all expenses, this property cleared just over $6,300 in profit for the month. A big driver of performance here is presentation. Out of all my properties, I think this one has the nicest view, I would say, by far. One of the main reasons why we picked up this apartment was because of this view. When we saw this view, I knew that it would look good in photos. That is one of the highlights of this property by far. We put real effort into the photography, especially a dust shoot to capture the sunset and views. That boosts our click-through rate, and once more people are clicking, your conversion and occupancy naturally follows. This is how we set up one of our newer Airbnbs, and let's go check out the other one. Apartment number 2. This is the building I almost burnt down.
That's cool. No fucking way, we just set up the smoke alarm.
I just saw our cleaner actually. While we walked in here, he was going down to take off some rubbish. So let's see how it looks. So this one's a very average 2-bedroom apartment in the city. Nothing flashy, no crazy views, and no luxury fit out. But this is what I call a bread and butter apartment. And honestly, a big chunk of my portfolio looks exactly like this. All right, clean is in progress right now. As you can see, this is our linen bag. So this is from the warehouse actually. So this, if I'm not mistaken, should be clean linen. And we replace them with the dirty linens that's on the bed, and we take that away, bring it back to our warehouse for operations. So the kitchen should always be supplied with the same standard of cutlery, appliances, and things like that. So we always buy the same mugs, cups, wine glasses, microwave, rice cooker, kettle, toaster, knife set. Cutlery should all be placed neatly. Nothing in the dishwasher, I assume, yeah. As soon as the cleaners come in, they always do the dishwashing first and then take the rubbish down after. It's important to have these procedures in place so they know exactly what to do at each point of the clean and nothing ever gets missed. One of the reasons why we like this deal is that it came mostly furnished. All of the bulky items were already there, so our upfront cost was really low. We probably spent around $1,500 just topping up the kitchenware and adding some small decor pieces. We always try and have our artworks kind of thematic for each bedroom. So this is like a black theme. The living room's like a spicy orange theme. With this apartment, because it came furnished, we had to kind of design around the wooden furniture, the wooden legs of the couch, the wooden study desk over here. And you can imagine with the orange theme, we would have an orange or brownish rug to kind of go with the whole aesthetic of the place. Now let's look at the numbers. Last month, this property did $12,941 in gross booking revenue at an 87% occupancy rate. And after OTA fees, the payout was about $10,690. The rent here is $700 a week, which works out to be about $3,032 per month. Cleaning was roughly $900 and utilities was around $200. And this is the key point that I want people to understand. Not every Airbnb needs to be sexy to work. If you have the right back-end listing optimization and pricing strategies and a clean professional presentation, even boring properties like this can perform extremely well. And this is a great example of how consistency and systems matter more than chasing flashy units. The next one is going to be really nice. I'm excited to show you guys the next one because there's a 3-bedroom loft in the middle of South Bank, which is the middle of the city. A lot of our units in the city are apartments, which are very standardized, but that unit has an extra loft to it, like an extra level to it. So let's go check that one out. So this one is a bit different to most of our portfolio. It's a 3-bedroom loft apartment in South Bank. The location is great, but the property itself is quite old. And we only picked this one up about 2 months ago, so it's still ramping up. This is my first ever time seeing this property. So I'm super excited to see this one because it's very different from the other ones. The other ones like high-rise apartment buildings. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our South Bank loft apartment. Damn. This is nice. Look how big this rug is. Now the reason why we took this deal was the rental price. The rent here is about $850 a week, which is roughly what you'll pay for a 2-bedroom in this area. As a long-term tenant, you don't really want to live in a place that's old and dingy. Demand for this one on the long-term rental market is a little bit low, but it's perfect for a short-term rental because on Airbnb, your target market are bigger group sizes. This is the bedroom number 1. We got a weird artwork on the wall, but a little bit funky. The guests like it. Bedroom number 2, kind of the same style going on. The reason why this property performs so well is because of the decor pieces, the standout 85-inch TV, and the fact that it's a loft in the middle of the city. Because if you think about it, if you're a guest trying to find accommodation and you're scrolling through and you're seeing copied and pasted apartments, and then suddenly you see this gem, you're gonna stop. And the more stops you get, the more clicks you get into your listing, and therefore the more bookings you get. So simple conversion mathematics. Now let's go upstairs because this is the highlight of this property. We have a little waiting room area with a cow print rug. This reminds me of like when you're waiting for the doctor or like the dentist. You gotta, sit on one of these and then they find you, call you in, and then they tell you bad news. Anyways, bedroom number 3. Now looking at last month's numbers, gross booking revenue was $9,258 with a total payout of $7,618 after OTA fees. The occupancy is just under 84%, which is solid considering it's still early in the ramp-up phase. The monthly rent here works out to be about $3,683. Cleaning was around $1,200 and utilities we estimate at roughly $250. So after all expenses, this property still cleared roughly $2,500 in profit for the month, even while still ramping up. And we expect that number to improve as occupancy tightens and pricing gets fully optimized. So the big lesson here is that all property types can work. Even deals that might struggle or look attractive on the long-term rental market can perform extremely well as a short-term rental if you understand guest demand and how to position them correctly. So the next place we're gonna go to is also a really nice standout property because it has beautiful views of the city and South Bank, but it's also a penthouse, but it's not that nice. But we're gonna go to it anyways next, so let's go. So this apartment here was actually a furnished apartment. So all of this furniture you see here, or most of it anyways, is from the owner himself, the rental provider. So this couch came with the apartment. This stone coffee table, which is like 1,000 kilos by the way. Every time we try and move this thing, it's like heavy as hell. Little chair here, we bought that. And we also bought this TV and mounted it onto the wall. With permission, of course. The balcony is actually a massive wraparound balcony, as you'll see in a second. And when we were living here, we actually enjoyed the fireworks over New Year's Eve. Now, the only thing about this place is it's a weird design because the outdoor balcony is extremely big, but there's no cover at all. There's no cover. So that means there's no protection from the wind, which means all this outdoor furniture just gets blown away. That's probably something we should have considered when we furnished this apartment. We kind of regret putting outdoor furniture even out here, but it is still a nice amenity for guests. But when it gets windy, it becomes a problem. When we were doing the inspection for this place, and there was a couple other applicants there as well, we could see the hero shot already. So if you stand over here, you can see the view of the city and the buildings in the background. For this one, there was competition for the rental, but we had a really strong relationship with the property manager. They trusted us as tenants, knew how we operate, and vouched for us directly to the owner as a credible option. And that is ultimately why we got the deal. The bigger lesson here is relationships. In this business, nurturing and maintaining strong connections with agents and property managers compounds over time. To give you an example, there's one building in particular where we manage 15 apartments and they're all from the same property manager. So one solid relationship can genuinely accelerate the growth of your entire Airbnb business. Originally, the couch was actually over here when it was a long-term rental, and the TV was actually on the wall over there. The dining table was over there as well. So we actually decided to rearrange the layout so that we could get the hero shot to be the city and the view over there so that it would captivate the audience more. And that's why we moved the TV from that wall to that wall. So that's a little bit about the thought process about picking up this place and rearranging the layout to make it more aesthetically pleasing and therefore captivate a larger audience. And therefore get more bookings. Now looking at last month's numbers, gross booking revenue for the month was about $12,609 at a 93.55% occupancy rate, and the total payout after OTA fees was $10,941. The monthly rent here is $4,997. The cleaning was about $1,300, and utilities we estimate around $300. So after all expenses, this property printed roughly $4,300 in profit for the month. And with that, you should have everything that you need to feel real confidence behind Airbnb arbitrage. That said, I know that there's a lot more that goes into it, like setting up your listings properly, building systems, and hiring a team so that you're not stuck running everything yourself. And that's why I put together a 27-minute masterclass that breaks all of that down, plus an even deeper dive into what we covered in this video. It should pop up on the screen somewhere. I recommend grabbing a pen and paper and giving it a proper watch. And if you're someone who wants hands-on help and you're serious about building this properly, you can also apply for mentorship. We only take on a limited number of people, and the link for that one is in the description. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.